Hello, NAVA and flag friends, and also my family who's here. They're probably stuck in the elevator, but it was actually a good coincidence that they came to the US to visit and they landed exactly when I was going to do flag stuff. That's what they say. So here we go, flag stuff. I'm thrilled to be here today and share my passion, not only for flags, but very much important to say and to set the expectation here. It's more about graphic design and philosophy than necessarily flags. Anyway, so usually this presentation I give to graphic designers, communicators, advertisers, because I guess the idea here is to show the power of this artifact that we all love and how much it shapes our culture. And if we think about flags, they are pieces of graphic design. So it's a way to show them how powerful it is, the work that they do to shape our worlds, right? But anyways, before I start, I need to take you back to 2015 because, well, it's the first time that I'm meeting a bunch of you, and I would love a lot of people here usually ask, why flags, right? Like my family, why flag stuff? So I'll take you back. So in some sorts, I can kind of explain why I love flags. Wow, yeah. So in 2015 or 14, actually, and you can already feel how much I love design and graphic design. But one thing struck me in 2014, reading one of the design blogs that I read every day, and it was about the AK-47. The thing is that struck me the most is that they were repositioning the brand. And the slogan that they used was Kalashnikov, which is the company that that owns the AK-47, with the slogan, tagline, whatever you want to call it, saying Kalashnikov protecting peace. And I was really struck by that. Like, wow, people actually can use design and branding to claim whatever they can claim. So let me research that and see if actually a branding for such thing can actually claim peace. But it's an interesting thing to think about when you want to kind of talk about war. It's like yin yang, you want to talk about war, but peace is a great way to go in. So basically, I love design a lot, like I said, and this was a topic that was going to really bother me. I like that discomfort to make sure that I was not going to get, in a very comfortable territory, that I know everything already about this. So why not put me in front of something that is just going to drive me crazy for 2 years? So this was my first master. This is just to show, this is the final product. I ended up like designing a book. I didn't want a thesis to look boring, especially on design. So, and yeah, one of the things too that I was really fascinated was flags, emblems, everything that was really carrying the idea of the AK-47 here, not shooting anybody, but kind of, the things that we've been talking about, like symbolism, and one of them, ta-da. One of, the AK-47 on the Mozambique flag, right? So just because we're here as vexillologists, I'm going to talk a little bit about it, but the teal stands for the riches of the land, the white fimbriations signify peace, black represents the African continent, yellow symbolizes the country's minerals, and red represents the struggle for independence. It includes the image of an AK-47 with a bayonet attached to the barrel crossed by a hoe, superimposed on an open book. The AK here stands for freedom. The open book symbolizes the importance of education, and the hoe represents the country's agriculture. And the star, international solidarity of the Mozambique people. So I was looking at this, I started buying passports, like fake passports, and bills because all of them had the AK-47 on it. And I was just like, this is crazy. So that was kind of my interest. And then I applied for a master, and then, okay, this was done, but I was still thinking about this flag. I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. But then I was like, I'm not ready for a PhD, but why not another master? So in 2018, I applied to this scholarship for the School of Visual Arts. It was just 1-year master. So I was like, I can take it. Mom can help me pay it. And I got the scholarship. And when I started talking about my research with my mentors there, they were like, I think you're like something else. It's not the Mozambique flag. What is it? Well, then I figured out there was a word for it. It was vexillology. And then it all clicked. That's what I wanted to discuss, flags. But how flags really interfere in our culture. Well, we need to remind always that it's positive, but also negative. Again, me putting in a position that I was going to look at something that do both, like peace and war, that kind of another territory that was going to give me a lot of discomfort, because that's the only way that I feel like I grow or build different interests and challenge myself to research. So my focus, of course, is on vexillology. What you're going to see now is the thesis. But actually, and again, I apologize, but it's about graphic design. It's about image making. It's about the things that graphic designers do that are right now here in front of us. This is design. So important to say that I approached this thesis from 3 different angles. One as an academic researcher, the other one, my passion and my profession, which is a graphic designer, and third one, an international student. Well, that's very important because in Brazil, for example, flags, well, things have changed because of politics, but flags were always a symbol for sports. I was talking to someone last night about it. If there was a flag, Brazilian flag on a window or like being showcased somewhere in the street, it was because it was a match day. That's pretty much it. And then I come to this place, which is the 4th component, which is New York. New York is the perfect place to challenge creativity. And well, America, I think you all know that, but I'm going to tell you a secret. You guys really love flags. So I found the perfect place to do my research. So I also like to emphasize that this idea of masters in design and design criticism is also, let's say, a field still under development. It's not like even arts or architecture or history that you know exactly which book, exactly which author you can go and find your answers. So my questions, I didn't know where to find my answers for my questions and how much graphic design and culture are interrelated. So I allowed myself to experiment with different ways and different approaches. And my text, if you ever have the chance to read, but it's a text, with a lot of metaphors. Like Jim yesterday, a metaphor for flags to be a bird. Well, mine has like some passages about flags as butterflies, which my school didn't like it, but I usually don't care. Philosophy, poetry, and design. And the first book that I read was, of course, from Whitney Smith. I told Nick earlier that, oh, Nick, this one I already have. This was the first one. And I was really fascinated when Whitney says, and I couldn't believe it was true, actually it's true, that it's almost impossible to conceive the world of human society without flags. Almost every culture around the world has invented a flag for itself, as we all know. And I mean, when I gave this lecture once in Brazil, they asked me, what about indigenous people in Brazil? Do they have one? And I had to check after, and they do. So it's really fascinating how we all really embrace this idea of symbols or flags or any type of artifact that really bring us together, or sometimes set, us apart from others. These are things that you know, but I always love to remind us the power of flags, because it represents so much, right? Like origin, belonging, belief, ideology, identification, support. They help us criticize something, they help us mourn, they communicate not only through their designs, but with things that we do when we have them. They're in the arts, they're in the science, they're in the sports. Wow, they're in the music too. Fashion, religion, so pretty much everywhere. And even, well, that's an interesting place to say, but even, especially today, for the people that needs some sort of artifact to really show that they exist. And most recently in 2016, this flag was designed, which is the refugee flag. It was designed specifically for the Olympic Games, but such a beautiful idea to communicate so much, so easily. So anyways, I think my question was always around this idea of, even in today, globalism, multi-layer identities, whatever we want to be, people still use flags, right? Well, we know that, but it's so hard to get to that idea, like why? Are we never going to give them up? And why do they keep transcending the times with us? And to try to answer these questions through the lenses of graphic design, I propose a design criticism with an interdisciplinary approach. Currently, the science such as anthropology and art history have been reinventing themselves, their ways of questioning the world and image making, because here I'm really interested in design as image makers. And I approached my design criticism by not looking at design, neither vexillology, but I looked at flags with three main authors. Today, I'm just going to talk really briefly about one, but it's George D.D. Uberman. He's also, it was very important for them to come from different places in the world. I really wanted to embrace the diversity of points of views on image making, on flag and symbols. George D.D. Uberman, which is an art historian, Hans Belting, which I'm going to talk really briefly about it today, and Willem Flusser, which is a communication media theories. So today I'm just going to focus really quick, and I don't want to run out of time, on the idea of the anthropology of images and how I related that to flag design. Bear with me, it's a little bit philosophical, but I think it's kind of easy to go. So Hans Belting have this idea that images, they don't necessarily exist. They need a medium. So images can be also, in our brain when we think about a flag or we think about the emotion of a flag, but we need to put them somewhere so we can look at them, right? So this means something, but we can only feel that because it's in front of us, incorporated in a medium, and we need our body to perceive that. And the idea behind this, theory comes back from the Cult of the Dead. And that I need to read because well. The author states that back in history, images as three-dimensional ones, such as statues or dolls, like this one here, right? They were designed to replace the deadly bodies who lost their visibility along with their physical bodies, right? So what is a way for you to bring that presence back is to actually make a doll or some sort of, medium for that image, for that idea or concept or that presence come back. I hope that makes sense. So looking at this idea of image making, I was like, oh, okay, so maybe that's why it's interesting for us to think of design in a sense that we actually bring ideas back to the world because we use the flags as medium to kind of, bring that to reality. So he just uses like a metaphor of a coin. We look at a coin, so it's medium and image are two sides of the same coin. So if you look at the medium, the flag, you actually see the image because it flips. So that's the same idea that I want to incorporate when I was thinking about, flags. We need to incorporate ideas, concepts, images, memories, or whatsoever the flag should represent or design And that's why it works so well, because we actually see the flags, the colors, the circles, the bars, but we don't stop there. We also have some sort of emotion to come back to it. So interesting is that, so this is a project called Flag Stories that I found just to look at this idea again of the medium, how to create the medium, how to create these images. And it's just so simple, right? It seems for us designers, I tell my friends, my friend designers, or also students, that it's almost like a Lego box. It's a Lego box here, play with the Lego box, but you need to make meaningful messages. You need to make an image that it's gonna perpetuate the idea of what you want to say. But basically, we just use the same box. Isn't that amazing that all the variety of flags that exist comes from the same Lego box? And again, it's a lot of responsibility if we think about it, right? To design things that are going to perpetuate in our life. So just to finish, one of the things that I connects to the idea of the image making from anthropology of images is this concept in French called rendre. That comes from Didier Huberman. Rendre means when you render image and it brings, something new, but also render is to give it back, to return. And he says it is evident that images become truly explosive when rendered. From their form of rendering, so something new, a verb that is said at the same time of a transformation of an object and the return to others. So isn't it very powerful to think that the things that graphic designers create actually make new images, but also return to the people who should those images belong. So just to finalize, since this is because of my love for graphic design, I always finish this to graphic designers saying, let us think then of an indispensable presence of design as a discipline capable of creating all these mediums in which images of our culture can circulate. Please, with responsibility. For this reason, why don't we exploit our capability to the fullest? We can actually transform our surroundings, develop and stimulate our culture in positive ways by means of design. Graphic designers, when designing flags, have the power to inflict deep changes in our society. We're image makers. I hope this all made sense. And thank you again for bringing a graphic designer to the stage. Obrigada. Oh, invite me to any vexillography conversation that I'll be down for it. But answering, so this is great. By the way, I'm looking at TED here, and it's really amazing how after learning about vexillology and flag design really changed the way that I lead my designers and my design choices and students. The idea of simplicity, it's so hard to achieve. Well, you know that. So that's probably one of the things that really, really changed my life, how to achieve simplicity, but to communicate with, with a power, with the same power. Oh, so Steve is asking, how do we design with create meaning before the meaning is there, I guess? Well, I'm going to answer as a really graphic designer in this one, but I don't think meaning comes and it's imbued over time, right? So as a graphic designer looking at Nike logos or, Chanel, the first time that somebody designed like a Nike swoosh, I think it was $25, and it was like, yep. That didn't have any meaning back then, right? It was just a swoosh. But the same way that we work on identity, on branding, or even flags, how many, the exposure of flags or the conversation about it or feeling impacted by it makes you kind of realize the meaning or at least get interested, or I don't know. So basically my point is I don't think it's really easy to achieve meaning right away. But I do think that's why it's my favorite flag, the refugee flags, because I think that one accomplished that. But it's so hard, right? It's really hard. But that's why I love that one for sure. Terrible. Yeah. Well, honestly, I think Whitney Smith said that, and I don't think sometimes people ask me, I don't know how you, that would be a great conversation to have, but sometimes students ask me, or in lectures that I give, like, so do you think we are always going to have flags? I think so. And I think the more we evolve as human beings, so back to my question, like, if we're very diverse, we're very global and multi-layered, but we are maybe in this way building more flags and flags and flags for us. You know, I'm a little bit of this one. This weekend, I'm this one too. And you know what I mean? So that's how we form our identity, I guess. Well, good point. I mean, but one of the rules, one of the TED rules is about, what is it? Relationship, right? Or similar. So maybe that is a way to bring history, right? So the similarities or some sort of design that connects. So some of you saw yesterday, I was wearing a pin for my city in Belo Horizonte. And it's the same, it's a great design because it's, you know, it's bringing the history in a way of using the same colors of the Brazilian flag. So, oh, you know, so maybe that's a way to look at it. Of course, because otherwise Ted is not going to approve the flag. Thank you very much.